Hello everyone, and welcome to this time-lapse tutorial. In the last tutorial, we talked about the platform effector and how to make a one-way platform. But in this video, I'm going to be teaching you the other effectors that you can use in 2D. Right now, I just have a circle with a circle collider and a rigid body 2D on it, and a ground with a box collider 2D on it. The first effector we're going to be using is called the surface effector 2D. What we need to do is on the box collider, click is used by effector, and then what we can do is click play. What will happen once we get into play mode is that our circle will hit the ground and start moving. I'm going to pause this for 1 second just to show you guys what's going on. On the ground here, we have a speed variation, and force scale. The speed is how fast the circle will go along this effector. Speed variation is the variation between the speed, and the force scale is how much force will be applied to it to reach that speed. So the smaller the force scale, the longer it will take for the circle to get up to the maximum speed. The speed can also be negative, so if I put it now, it will roll to the other side. If I make it high, you can see it goes fast, and it went off the screen. So now let's just reset. And then what we can play around with is if I put the speed at something like 3 and put the force scale something like 0.01, it'll take a while for it to get, if I put it at -3, you can see it's going very, very slow, and then it speeds up, and now it's going at its max speed. So that's what the surface effector does. Next, I would like to talk about the area effector. For that, let's just create an empty game object. I'm going to name it area effector. I'm going to add a box collider 2D to it and an area effector 2D. For this box collider, I'm going to click is trigger and is used by effector. And for the box collider, I'm going to make it just around this big. And now, this applies a force to any objects inside of the collider. So you can change the angle, the magnitude, the variation, and then the target, which would be a rigid body or a collider. That doesn't really matter just because ours is a circle. So what we can do is, if I want this to go straight up, I'll change the first force angle to 90, and I'm going to click play. So the circle is going to roll into here, and it's going to be shot up. So you can see it starts rolling. If I click check on the scene view, it is almost going to reach this. And right about now, so if I go back in, you can see that the circle is lifting off the ground. This is all a bit slow, so I'm going to change the speed to 5 and the area effector force magnitude to 50. Now if I click play again, you should see it happening much more quickly. The circle will fall and start moving, and now it will be shot up just like that. I can also change the force angle by taking the area effector and rotating it, just like that. And if I click use global angle, it will always go up 90 degrees, but if I didn't do this, then it would do 90 degrees from there, which would not be the same as 90 degrees using global angles. I'm just going to reset that. And now we can talk about the point effector. But for that, we don't need this ground anymore. So I'm going to delete the ground. And then for the circle, I'm going to add another circle collider 2D. This one is going to be a trigger. And then if I'm going to change the radius to something like 5. You can see that this is a very, very large radius for this circle right here. And what I'm going to do is add a point effector 2D. And then the circle collider, I'm going to click use by effector. And now it's the force magnitude, variation, and the distance scale. This can be used something like gravity. So if we would like to do gravity, we can go to force mode and change it to inverse squared, which is how gravity calculations are done inside of Unity. We can change the force magnitude. This is going to be together. So what I'm going to do is create another circle with the same exact one. If I highlight them, you can see that they are overlapping. So if I click play, they should be starting to move together. Slowly at first, but this is right now just the rigid body. I have to change the gravity scale to 0. And now, if I click play, what is going to happen is that these circles are going to be moving together. You can see they are not really moving together right now. What's happening is that the force magnitudes are very slow, so it's -10 right now. I'm just going to change this. If I change this to be something very high, you can see that they are moving apart now. So if I move this one close to here, you can see that they repel each other. You can see that they are repelling right now. If I just change the force to constant, however, you can see that it goes off very, very quickly because it's just applying a constant force instead of the actual gravity force. So that is what you can do with that. And next up is the buoyancy effector. I'm going to delete the other circle, and for this I am going to remove the point effector and remove the other circle. Once we've unchecked those boxes, I'm going to create another 2D object, a sprite and a square. This I'm just going to drag across the bottom, and then I'm going to make it taller, and then I'm going to change the color to blue, just like water, and I'm going to reduce the alpha value a little bit. And now I'm going to add a box collider 2D to this and a buoyancy effector. Now I'm on this box collider, I'm going to click is trigger and is used by effector. And now if we just click play, you can see that when this circle will drop into it, it's not doing this right now because I have to change the gravity scale back to 1. It will bounce like it has like the buoyancy. The density controls, you can see it controls the density of it. The lower the density, then this object can just sink. I'm just going to move it up a bit and change the density on this square back to 2. And you can see it moves right back up again. If I change the surface level, you can see that it gets high, so I'm going to change this to 0.5. And then if I change the flow, then I can just, this is also just like the surface effector. So if I just change the flow and the circle just went off, so I'm going to reset it. The flow is just like the surface effector because it just moves it around in any way that you would like. So I'm going to change the surface level to 0.25. And then for flow, I'm just going to change the flow to something like 5. So it's moving along slowly. This is like the flow of a river. The higher the density, then it will go up. Lower density will go down. If the density gets very high, you can see it goes up and bounces like that. And with that, those are all the effectors, including the platform effector that was talked about in the last video. If you would like to watch that, then you can go and watch the how to create a one-way platform video on my channel. And with that, this tutorial is finished. Thank you.